So the European Union has just dropped its AI Act. It is a massive, ambitious rulebook that's really trying to shape the future of artificial intelligence. It's a huge deal, right? But the real question is, how do you actually make a law this big work in the real world? Well, let's get into it.
I mean, that really is a million-dollar question, isn't it? You've got this one incredibly complex law, but you have 27 different countries that all need to apply it in exactly the same way. If they don't, the whole thing could just splinter into chaos. So how did the EU solve this puzzle? Turns out the answer is hiding in one surprisingly important and kind of obscure part of the law.
All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big picture, the AI Act's grand ambition. Then we'll meet the key players, who I like to call the AI inspectors. After that, we'll dig into the fascinating story of how the final rule got made. We'll look at the blueprint for how they all work together, and, most importantly, we'll see why this one little rule actually matters to all of us.
Okay, let's start at the top. The AI Act has a truly massive goal: to create a world where AI is both super innovative, but also completely trustworthy. It's all about finding that perfect and pretty tricky balance.
So the goal is clear, right? Make AI safe, make it transparent, and make sure it respects our fundamental rights. But just imagine for a second. What if an AI for diagnosing cancer was approved under super strict rules in Germany, but much looser rules in, say, another country? That's the danger. Without everyone on the same page, this grand vision could just become a confusing mess.
And this is where the heroes of our story come in, the notified bodies. The easiest way to think of them is as certified AI inspectors. They're the ones on the front lines, making absolutely sure that high-risk AI systems are playing by the rules before they ever get near us.
So, what exactly is a notified body? Well, it's an independent group that's been given the official nod by an EU country, and their one big job is to check high-risk AI systems to see if they comply with the law. They are literally the gatekeepers. If a system doesn't meet the super high standards for safety and ethics, it just doesn't get their stamp of approval. Simple as that.
And you can see exactly how it works here. Some company develops a high-risk AI, let's say for a self-driving car. Before they can sell it, a notified body has to come in and do a deep dive assessment. If it passes, boom, it gets that famous CE mark, and only then is it allowed on the EU market. This whole process is pretty much the beating heart of the Act's safety plan.
But here's the catch. What if the inspectors in Spain are using a different playbook from the inspectors in Poland? That would totally defeat the purpose. And this is where Article 38 comes in. It's the rule that makes sure all these inspectors are in sync. So let's look at how this critical piece of the puzzle was hammered out over 3 years of pretty intense negotiations.
You can see the whole journey on this timeline. It kicked off in 2021 with a pretty general idea from the Commission, but things got complicated fast. All through 2022, you had the European Parliament and the Council just wrestling with the details. Then in 2023, the Parliament really doubled down on making sure everyone shared what they were learning, and that push led to the final deal we got in 2024.
So right off the bat, they had to answer a huge question. Who needs to be coordinated? Should this rule apply to every single AI system under the Act, or should they maybe focus their efforts a bit more? This was a really big deal because it would decide where all the time and money went.
And here's how that thinking changed. The first idea back in 2021 was super broad. It covered basically everything. But the final rule, it got way smarter, narrowing the focus to only high-risk AI systems. This was a massive shift. It meant they could target their efforts where the risk of harm is actually the greatest.
The next major battle was all about leadership. Okay, so you've got your team of inspectors, the notified bodies. But who's the head coach? Who's going to be the one to make sure they're all using the same playbook and working together?
And this was a real sticking point. Initially, the Commission basically nominated itself, but the European Parliament came back and said, hang on, because they were really concerned about our fundamental rights. They wanted the European Data Protection Supervisor, the EDPS, to be in charge. In the end, the Commission kept the job, but that whole debate just shows you how central data protection was to the Parliament's thinking.
And that brings us to the last piece of the puzzle, making sure everyone learns together. An early idea from the Parliament was to have a rule for mandatory knowledge exchange. Then the Council took it out, but the Parliament fought to get it put back in. This back and forth really shows that everyone started to realize, hey, for this whole system to work, these groups have to be learning from each other constantly.
So, after all that negotiating, all that compromise, we finally get the final version of Article 38. This is it, the actual blueprint for coordination. And it really just comes down to a clear three-part plan.
Here's the breakdown. First, the Commission sets up specialized groups of these notified bodies based on their area of expertise. Like a group for healthcare AI, one for transportation, and so on. Second, and this is key, participation is mandatory. Every single notified body has to join in, no exceptions. And third, the Commission is now legally on the hook to make sure everyone is sharing knowledge and best practices. It's simple, but it's really powerful.
Okay, I know, that's a lot of legal stuff, but why should you actually care about this one kind of boring-sounding rule? Well, because it connects directly to the high-stakes AI that is already becoming a part of our daily lives.
Just think about autonomous vehicles for a minute. When a self-driving car is about to hit the market, you want to be 100% sure that the safety checks done in one country are just as tough as the checks done in every other country. Article 38 is what guarantees that consistency. It's not just important for our roads, it's absolutely essential for our safety.
Or what about AI in medicine? I mean, if a doctor is using an AI to help figure out if you have a serious disease, you need to have total and complete trust that that tool has been vetted to the highest possible standard, no matter where in the EU it got its approval. Article 38 helps build that trust by making sure the standards are the same for everyone in all 27 countries.
And this quote just nails it. You can write the best rulebook in the world, but it doesn't mean a thing if you don't have a system to make sure everyone follows it the same way. Article 38 is that system. It's what turns the AI Act from just words on a page into a real, functional, and trustworthy system for all of us.
So here's the bottom line. A good rulebook is only ever as strong as its referees. And by making sure all the refs, all the notified bodies are coordinated, well-trained, and sharing info, Article 38 gives the AI Act the muscle it needs to actually protect us. So the framework is now in place, with Article 38 as a critical foundation. But as AI keeps evolving at this incredible, breakneck speed, the biggest question is still out there. Will this actually be enough to earn our trust in the AI of tomorrow? That is the challenge that lies ahead. Thanks for tuning in.